Hey guys, Mike, Toy Bonsai Boise. So I wanted to give you a more in-depth update now that we're in mid to late July. Let me show you how smoky it is out here. And usually you can see the foothills right there. That's how I've been judging the smoke factor in Boise lately, is just by how well I can see the foothills. And right now, you can't see them at all. It's considered unhealthy right now, the smoke index. So anyways, just thought I'd point that out. I don't know how that affects the trees at all, but it certainly affects me. Now back to the trees. So that's a look at the smoke. So from here, what I'll do is I'll give you a tour of the outdoor benches that I've got most of my outdoor trees on, and then I'll give you a tour of some of my tropical trees that I keep indoor, outdoor, depending on the season. And I'm going to actually single a few of them out and bring them in and put it on the spinner so that I can give you a more in-depth look at it in particular, so it's not just all bunched up in there. So follow me and I'll give you the tour. Alright, so I'll start on this side here. So here's a look at the lilac that I did a slip pot on a couple months ago. It's just kind of big wild bush right now. My grand vision for it is many years in the future, but I do like the root base on this. It's got a lot of cool character. So I think eventually I'll end up getting rid of one or the other instead of doing this twin trunk deal. But for now, you know, the idea is just to let it grow and do something with it later. So come over here. Here is one of my silver maples. Had this guy for, oh, I don't know, 8 or 9 years. Got in this huge pot because the goal is really just to thicken up the trunk, and I'm doing a different style of pruning with this. I do more of a hedge style pruning rather than a clip and grow. So I really just let it grow and hack it back, let it grow, hack it back. I do a little bit of structural pruning, just like if I go in there and I'll see something like this, you know, I might clip that away, but I don't, aside from stuff like that, if I don't see anything super obvious, I just sort of let it go and figure I'll deal with it later. This is a silver maple that I dug up. One of my first, if not my first, no, it wasn't my first, it was, I think, my second, Yamadori. Tragic story on this one is that the main trunk here ended up dying back all the way to there. So I got all this growth at the bottom, but not on the main cool old trunk. So it's my first attempt at grafting. So I just drilled a hole in that old trunk and then bent one of the branches right through it. And that was about 1.5 years ago or so, and it's, you know, still living. If I can zoom in. So you know, it hasn't died yet, which is a good sign. Whether or not it's going to work, I don't know. But that's my first attempt at grafting, and so far it seems to be working. So now I'll go over there and show you those. This is an Amore Maple that I've also got in a pot that is too large for it, but I'm just trying to thicken up the trunk. So it is not pruned to be pretty at all. It's just hedge pruned and kind of tucked away back there. This is a blueberry bush that I'm going to call it a future bonsai. It's got some future potential. These are just some cuttings. That's a Zelkova cutting that's really taken off. That's probably 2 or 3 feet big, long. A couple others back there, a lot of failed ones. Here is the honeysuckle that I did an air layer on a month or 2 ago. It's going strong, put on a ton of new growth, so I'm guessing the air layer is working. Here is my little loop-de-loop silver maple. I love this weird little guy. Had it for a long time, maybe 8 years or so. And it's just cool. It's just got character. I like it. Let's see. Some random ficus cuttings there. This is one of my oak pre-bonsais. Whoopsie. Sorry. It's got some cool movement down here on the trunk. I haven't really done much with it yet. It's just in the pre-bonsai stage, kind of letting it grow, and then I'll hack it back, I guess, so to speak. Not really a whole lot of thought into it, just sort of let it grow, hack it back, let it grow, hack it back. And so far it seems to like that. This is a Virginia creeper. Potted in this pot early spring. It has grown wild, so I'm just letting it go. It's got some little berries. Those turn cool like red and purple and orange in the fall. So here's a trivia question in case anybody out there knows, because I honestly don't know. This is either a honey locust or a terramond. It's got thorns, which I forget about all the time. But yeah, I don't know what it is. It was given to me. I like it. It's cool. It's in its pre-bonsai stage, but I don't know if it's a terramond or honey locust, or if there is even a difference. I really don't know. Dwarf Alberta spruce, which was doing great, and then all of a sudden it just sort of started turning brown. So I stuck it back here in the shade, and it's bouncing back slowly. So it needs some attention. You know, it's got growth in all the wrong spots. I'll probably wait a little while longer before I do it. There's my oak leaf sumac. Scientific name Rus trilobata. I always point that out because it's the only scientific name I ever actually remember. Another pre-bonsai oak that is goofy. A silver maple. I defoliated it recently. The leaves had definitely hardened off, reached maturity, and wasn't really putting on any growth. When the leaves get kind of like this crusty, flaky, I don't know how to describe it. When you can tell it's not this fresh new growth like this, it's more like kind of like that. Let me see if I can find a good example. More like this dark green. I don't really see any good examples. Kind of like that, you know, crusty and brown around the edges. I usually get rid of those, and it spurs new growth after that. Back here is my Siberian elm. I did some hacking away on this ugly growth knob recently. Posted a video on that a month or two ago. And already it has grown out quite a bit. So I'm going to have to trim that again here soon. Siberian Elm Forest. Kind of the same story. I trimmed it recently and it's already grown back out, and as you can see, it's got new growth starting to emerge here. See a little tiny starts there. The tragic story of this Siberian Elm Forest is that it had 9 in there and only 3 of them survived. That's kind of blocking everything, unfortunately. I'm gonna have to deal with that. So not sure what I meant to put more of them in the spring, and I just didn't get to it. My Western Sand cherry. I just posted a video on this just a couple days ago. I'm gonna do a cut on that left branch there in the spring, probably an air layer, hopefully. It's just a little canister. This is a privet. This was a cutting a couple years ago. Same with this. Another Virginia creeper under all of that. Believe it or not, there is one. Silver maple. I've done a few videos on this. If I can get in there, I'll show you. There we go. This is my little S-shape silver maple. I've always loved this one. Here's what I originally thought was a red maple. I'm now starting to think it is not a red maple, and it is actually a silver maple. just due to the shape of the leaves. My Juniper, which I haven't done a video on recently, but I have been working on this cascading effect. I will do a video on this before the end of the year for sure. Cotonoster. Trimmed this up recently. This was my Siberian elm that I left indoors all winter. It lived until I brought it outside, then it almost died. Like, it lost all the leaves. And it bounced back like it always does. This thing is a trooper, man. I've almost killed it several times. So, kind of what I'm doing here is I'm letting it grow, keeping this all trimmed back nice and neat, or trying to. Except the top. The top, I'm just letting that leader go crazy. That'll be a sacrificial limb. Here is one of my little Willow bonsais. I did a video on this last fall. Everybody seemed to like that. It's funny, the videos that I think are going to be real popular and people will like end up not doing that good, and then the ones that I don't think much about, people love them. Which is fine. Shantung Maple. It's been in recovery mode for a while, and it's recovering real nice. I did finally trim it. I was going to let it grow wild, and I was, and then it was getting a little too wild. I couldn't even walk back here without going through a jungle, so I hacked it back a little bit. Otherwise, let it go. There was a giant bee on it a few minutes ago. Now I'm wondering where that bee is. It's probably going to get me. Here's a Zelkova. I'm trying the same thing here. I hacked it way back, and I just left the leader to grow. The leader got so big and heavy it like sunk over. Now it looks like it's starting to come back up again, I guess. Back here is an Amore Maple in its pre-bonsai stage. I've noticed these Amore Maples do not like a lot of intense sun. So once it starts getting real warm, I put them in either most or partial shade. There's my oak bonsai. I did a video on this real early spring, maybe late winter even. So it is in an awkward state right now. Got a lot of burnt leaves and branches coming out all the wrong places, so wish I could tell you what the plan was for this. I don't even know. It's got cool root flare. It's got potential. It'll eventually be something. It's not something yet. It's awkward and weird, and awkward and weird seems to be the way that I roll. This is a bay willow. This started as a cutting a few years ago. I gotta trim this thing back all the time. It grows like crazy. So this is a red maple for sure. Pretty sure, at least. It's got some developing and whatnot to do, but I sure like it. I think it's going to be great someday. We got some weird, awkward little trees here and there. Another blueberry bush. And here's Loki the willow underneath all this jungle. You can't tell, but he's in there. So he gave me a little scare. You see all these burnt leaves? I don't know what happened. I think it was when I went out of town and I had someone watering for me. I didn't properly explain how much water willows need, and I think they just watered them just the same as they did everything else. And Loki's very thirsty, and he almost kicked the bucket there, I think, but he bounced back. I can't even make sense of this right now. I'm trying to show you what it looks like, but I can't. It's just, yeah, he needs trim too. There are some silver maples under all that. This is a wisteria that started off as one of those little $10 bare root deals at Walmart 5 or 6 years ago. I've had it, I just keep slip potting it into a bigger pot over and over because I'm just trying to thicken up that trunk. That's all I'm doing. I'm letting it grow wild, giving no thought at all to the structure, which still isn't terrible, but it eventually will need some corrections. Right now I'm just thickening it up. Let's see, crab apple tree I got from Costco for 25 bucks last year. I really wanted to do an air layer on it this year and I just didn't get to it, and I fear there's not enough time now. Maybe there is, I don't know. I'm not an expert on air layers. I'm only successful with them half the time, but I did manage to get some growth down low where I wanted, here and there. So I'm going to probably do the air layer around here in the spring for sure. I say that about a lot of trees, but this is at the top of the priority list because it's just too big. So air layering that for sure in the spring. Potatoes, potatoes. Corkscrew willow. It's done pretty good. It was really thick and full. And then I trimmed it back a little bit and it got a little yellow because the leaves that were left after trimming it. We got this massive heat wave in Idaho that's only recently let up. But it was, I don't know, it was in the hundreds every day for at least 2 weeks straight. It's kind of unusual for us. Maybe even longer, I don't know. But anyways, I trimmed it back, and then it's like smaller, weaker leaves kind of in there that aren't used to a whole lot of sunlight. So when I hacked it back and then the heat wave came, and the intense sun, because it gets direct southern sky sun right here, it fried it pretty good. So it's just sort of bad luck. But it bounced back. I just made sure to really keep it extra watered to compensate, and I just let it grow. Now it's needing a haircut again. And this is a dwarf Korean lilac, which got a little crispy during this last heat wave. So unfortunately, my trees are not in the greatest shape right now after this last heat wave. That heat wave kind of took a toll on everybody. But they're bouncing back now. So all in all, it's still healthy and doing well. So that's it for these. Let's go look at the indoor trees. Okay, so here's some of the tropical trees and a few others that aren't tropical that I just keep here on the balcony. It's kind of a clustered mess out here, so I'll do a quick walkthrough and then I'll take some of the more notable ones inside and we'll kind of single it out and take a better look. But I'll start over here. So this is a Schefflera, kind of a clump style, I guess, that I'm just trying to put together myself. I did a video on this last fall, and so far it's doing well. I haven't really pruned it much at all, if at all. But other Schefflera clumps that I've designed, which I'll take a look at those next, I'll take the cuttings from those and I'll just stick them in there. So just keep adding to it, and some survive and some don't. But I'll just keep working on it. Here's just a Ficus cutting. Nothing really of note there. I was just trimming it up a little bit ago. But these Schefflera clumps, I really have always liked these, and I give them away as gifts or sell them sometimes. Sometimes I keep them. But these are a couple that I did recently, where I just go to a box store, buy a big Schefflera clump, hack it down, and put it in a bonsai pot. So this one I did, I want to say it was 2 or 3 weeks ago at most, and it's already, you can see the little starts coming out there. So yeah, they've got cool character, and they start developing aerial roots sometimes, and I like them. This one I did even more recently. I want to say about a week and a half ago. So I don't know if I see any starts yet. I'm gonna take it back. I see one right there. Tiny little one, maybe. I don't know. It's got some cool aerial roots. So yeah, I've always liked making those. So I've got a ton of little propagation cuttings everywhere, and I'll show you more of them here in a minute. But do I need them all? No, and I'm not going to keep them all. But I give them away as gifts, and this year I decided I'm going to try my hand at selling some of these. I don't know how it's going to go yet, but the idea is I'm just going to sell little $20 starter bonsais as Christmas gifts or something like that, and I'll deliver them around town. People can buy them as gifts for people they know, and then they get delivered. And that's my idea. We'll see. It might end up being more work than it's worth. Here's some pomegranate propagations that I did. There's one back there, another one back there. Got some. These were from a lemon. These are lemon seed sprouts. Just from a lemon from the store. Just put the seeds in some dirt, and away they go. So this guy, I have not formally introduced this yet. This was a tree that I dug up with a buddy of mine, Jack, this spring. And I'm still not 100% sure what it is. I think it is a service berry. If you happen to know what it is, I'm all ears. But yeah, I think it is a service berry. Just from the research that I've done. It almost didn't make it. It had aphids really bad. I battled them a lot before I finally got rid of them all. And this is not doing it justice because, you know, it's just cluttered in there right now. But let's see if I can give you a decent look here. It's just a little clump style is what it's going to be. Boy, my camera work is not on par today at all. It's not doing it justice. But anyways, I think it's a service berry, and I've got some videos that I'm going to post on this. I just haven't put them all together yet because I was waiting for this to really flush out, which it's done. So I guess I should do it now. But yeah, that's the story on that. Little Chinese elm, some Ficus Benjaminas, another Schefflera clump. This one I've had for about 1.5 years. I just defoliated this the other day. That is a Schefflera. I'm going to call that a single trunk style Schefflera. I'll probably take a better look at that inside here in a minute. Another Schefflera clump. So I've got a lot of Scheffleras and Ficus around here. This is a willow leaf Ficus. Take a look at that inside. Cool Schefflera single. I don't know if I call it single trunk or triple trunk, really. This is one of the Japanese maples that I bought just this year. I did a video on it. I bought 3 of them, 3 different kinds. One of them didn't make it. This one did. And this one did. So here's a pomegranate. My main pomegranate tree, unfortunately, did not survive. This was my original dwarf pomegranate, and it died. Not sure why, but I think it was insects. But luckily I took a cutting from that branch there on the bottom right, which is now, let me show you, which has now become this guy. So I took this cutting about 1.5 years ago, and this year I've really just let it grow. I haven't pruned it at all for lots of reasons. One, I just wanted it to really gain a lot of strength. I take it back, I did prune it once, actually, early spring, and that's where those cuttings came from. But otherwise I've let it go. So I just wanted it to gain a lot of strength and vigor so that I can take more cuttings from it, and because these pomegranates will develop little fruit if you let them go. If you prune it back constantly, it won't develop fruit. So I wanted it to develop fruit, so I'm letting it go. But it's got cool movement in the trunk, and I really like dwarf pomegranates. There's a bunch more cuttings. That's a Zelkova. I take a lot of elm cuttings too. I've really gone overboard with the cuttings, and I chose a bad year for it, as you can see, because I just don't have much space. But you know, want to spread the gospel of bonsai around, so this is how I'm going to do it. These are Amore Maples. I've noticed that Amore Maples don't like a lot of intense sunlight, so I'm keeping them here on the balcony where it's mostly shade, and they've done pretty well. Been meaning to do an update on this guy. This is a Ficus Benjamina fusion project I've been working on for a couple years or so. I have repotted it and, you know, taken its little mummy bandages off and checked it out, and it's starting to fuse in some places, so I'll finish editing that and post it sooner or later. This is I think I finally figured out this is a Green Island ficus grafted onto a ginseng, if I remember right. It's some kind of weird graft, and I remember half of it is Green Island ficus, and I can't remember what the other half is. But it's the type of bonsai that you see at like Home Depot and Costco and stuff. That's that. That was my work bonsai. I work from home now, so it's at home, but there it is. And then this is another project I'm working on. I'm trying to develop aerial roots, so I just wrapped it in plastic just to kind of keep some humidity in there. I have to admit, it already had some aerial roots. I'm trying to develop more, so we'll take a closer look at that sooner or later. Again, I apologize for the clutter out here, but I'm just trying to make the most of what little space I have out on this balcony. So here's Propagation Station, which is full of, you guessed it, propagations. Lots of ficus, tiger bark ficus, Ficus Benjamina, etc. So let's take a closer look at a few of these inside where we can single them out and take a better look.